Hey Dad, what do you do if the person you have limerence over has interest in you?
It's a good question, and I think this really depends on if you're available for a relationship and if the person you have limerence is available for a relationship. So there's four potential options. Let's say that you are available for a relationship and they're also not in a committed relationship. Then I would say it's entirely appropriate to then approach that person to see if they're interested in dating, perhaps. And if they're limerent over you as well, there's obviously mutual attraction there. So in that case, that will be appropriate. And sometimes where there is mutual limerence, that relationship can develop into a more enduring relationship. I had a client once who did develop limerence for somebody with limerence, and eventually they got married, and they're still happily married many years later with two children. So it does happen. The other option at the other extreme is where you're in a committed relationship and the person with limerence is also in a committed relationship, and this often happens. Now, if you pursue that other person or they pursue you, this is how affairs start, and this is dangerous territory. In my book, this is never appropriate for you to do that. You're better off to work on yourself, work on your own relationship, and also for the person with limerence, ideally they would do the same, although you've got no agency, no power or control over them. That's their choice. And if you decide that you don't want to work on your relationship, stay in it, then be honest and leave that relationship before you start going down the road of trying to develop a relationship with a limerent object. That is a far more conscious thing to do with integrity. Although again, I would certainly recommend you go off and work on yourself first before leaving a failed broken relationship and jumping ship straight into a new relationship where there's limerence. That's not a healthy thing to do either. So they're the two options there. And then the other two options are where maybe you've got limerence for the other person and they're not interested. And again, go and work on yourself. If you're in a committed relationship, work on that relationship. Try and work out why the relationship's not working. Go into couples counseling perhaps as well. Go into personal therapy. And then the other option is that the other person has limerence for you and you're not interested in them at all. And this is also very problematic because that person might be stalking you, they might be bugging you, pursuing you. In that case, that's difficult. I mean, it's about being bound ridden. It might even be that you have to, if it's a work situation, talk to HR. If it's getting beyond just somebody just showing an interest in you, you might even have to go to the police. And sometimes we've had clients where they've had to do this. And this has to be taken really seriously because that person, this is how stalkers start out or how they behave. And it's not appropriate, it's not acceptable, and we just don't understand enough about limerence in our culture and don't have a good enough understanding to help people who maybe are stalking somebody. So they're the four possibilities of what we do with limerence where maybe we don't have it or they do and vice versa. So I hope that helps. Let me know in the comments section. I mean, this one's a bit more complex than the other TikToks that we do. But love to hear whether you had limerence and the other person didn't or did. How did you manage it? If you were a committed relationship or they were or they weren't. Check out our other TikToks and all stuff relationship, YouTube and Instagrams, and also have a 24-part series on how to overcome and work through your limerence. And you can find that on our website at themarriedtherapist.com.